What up, comic fans? Kara here, Capital K Comic Reviews, coming at you with another video. Today's video, we're going to get into comic grading and what's involved and how can you grade your own comics. And I'm going to give you a bit of hints and tips on how I grade my comics and what to look out for when grading comics. So before we get into this video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you get notified when I drop new content on my channel, which is every week. So don't forget to hit those buttons. But we'll get into it. Let's go. Alright guys, so grading comics, you know, what do you look for, what don't you look for, what do you know, what do you don't know. I'm going to give you a couple of tips or a couple of things that I do when I'm buying comics, as well as when I'm selling comics to people, what I tell them, and we'll go through this. So for all you new guys out there that are just getting into the comic collection game, this will going to give you you know, the starter steps of what to look for when buying comics, because we've all been there where we've seen key comics for cheap as and just buy, let's buy it, it's cheap as, it's key, let's get it, I love it. And then you get it and then you're like, what the hell, it's got a rip, it's got a detached staple, it's got this and that wrong with. So I'm going to give you the tips that I look for, and hopefully it helps you guys out when you're collecting your comics. So we're going to get into it and I'll let you know what to look out for, guys. So the first one we're going to bring up is, if I can find it, here it is Marvel Comics presents Wolverine. Now this is a low-key comic, a number one of Wolverines, but it is a low-graded one. Now everything I'm going to pick out in this book is a defect, which brings down the value and the grade of the book. So I'm going to put it up there, you know, we're going to look at it, and like I said, you know, when you first look at comics on eBay or in a shop or anything like that, you know, a lot of these older comics and that, they'll be either on walls and plastic sleeves on walls, so you can't get them out and handle them and look through them as much as you want. So this is what you see. So this is a good indication of what you're going to get when you're looking at it. Now eBay may be a bit different because it's online, it's not really physically in front of your face, but this is the first thing that you're going to see on the comic. Now I'm holding this up here and I'm wanting you guys to see how many defects you can see on this. Now for all of you expert comic collectors out there, you've probably picked them all up already, and you may have picked up some that I haven't even seen yet. But for you newbies out there, or you new guys getting into this game, let's see if you can see anything. Drop down in the comments if you can see, list the defects you can see on it. But we're going to get into it and I'm going to show you. Now this one has got me, not this book in particular, but this defect that's on this book has gotten me a couple of times in my earlier years of collecting comics. And so we're going to bring it up and I want to see if you can see it. Alright, I'll put it at the bottom. See if you can see it. Alright. So first off, like I said, you're looking at the comic first and you think, oh yeah, it's an old book, it's going to have some wear and tear and stuff, so normal kind of things. But then you get hit with the whammo, right? The writing on the comic. A lot of newsstands and bookstores would put their own pricing on comics, and I can tell you right now, comics with writing on them, unless they are a signature from an artist, a writer, or anyone related to comics or the comic book that it is on, devalues the comic and degrades the comic significantly. So seeing that is a comic collector's worst nightmare. There's a big pen or a normal pen, which is the norm. You can get away if it's got grease pencil on it. Grease pencil is way more forgiving than a big pen is. But that is like the first defect. Now you can usually find them because they usually write them up here or they write them along the title somewhere. Sometimes you'll find them down there, but usually they're up along the top here. So be mindful of that. This is the first thing I look at when looking to buy comics. I look straight at this part up here. See if there's any writing. If there's a signature, I want to know whose signature is, and that could be a good thing. 9 times out of 10 it is. But if it's got writings or a stamp date, a couple of others come across have got stamped dates of when they were put into the bookstore, stamped on them, which is a big no-no. It's a big disappointment when you find that out. But yeah, so that's the first thing I look at. The next thing I look at is the spine, what condition the spine is, and what they call spine ticks. So if I pull up to the camera, you can see spine ticks, you know, there, there. It runs pretty much all the way up the book. It's hardest to see on this book because of the artwork. The comic that I'll show you in a minute is a lot easier because it's a darker one. So your darker comics, cover comics, it's easier to pick up the spine ticks. Now, in saying spine ticks, if you get spine ticks that are not color broken, you can get them pressed out and bring them back up to the original standard of the book. I wouldn't say 100%, but near to 100% of the book. And then the other thing I'm looking for, what you should look for when at the spine is spine rolls. So if your staples on your book aren't facing the way a staple should be, which should be that way, if they're facing forward or they're facing backwards, there's a very high chance that your comic or the comic has a spine roll on it. Or if you see the comic has a roll on the spine where it rolls up. I'm trying to think, you know, if it rolls up, if it's got a kink going up in the spine, there's a high chance it's got a spine roll on. These are other things to, hence why a lot of people ask, does the comic lay flat? Or sellers will say, yeah, no spine roll, comic lays flat, in beautiful condition and stuff like that. That's why they say these kind of things. So this is the kind of things you're looking forward to, as well as rust on staples. Now that's a biggie, especially with older comics. You're looking for rust, and then with rust usually comes detached covers or detached staples, which is another indication of a defect on a book. The next one I look at is I look around the edges, all the edges of the book, and see if there's wear and tear. Now you can see on this one there's a lot of wear and tear along the front there, and you're looking for these creases, color break creases. If the comic book's creased or the cover's creased or the back cover's creased but it's not color broken, they can easily be fixed by pressing them out. If they are color broken like these ones, you can press them, but like I said, this one's been pressed, they're still there, you know. And sometimes they're just called from, the majority of them are caused from what they call dog ear. What a dog ear is when a book is folded over or a page is folded over, and usually you'll find them on the inside of the book. There's a good example of a dog ear on the back there. That's a dog ear, and things like that. So like I said, on face value, that's what you're looking for on comic books, on the covers. Tears, any scratches, any blemishes, what they call foxing, which is due to moisture and stuff. Water damage is another biggie. So, you know, on a comic book like this, you wouldn't really see the water damage on it, you know. If it's a comic that's got a white cover, you'll be able to see it on the back, water damage, and you'll definitely be able to see it through the book. Because this one has got a coloured back and front cover, you can't see the water damage until you open the book, and it's just ever so slightly, and you can see the foxing at the bottom there, just that brown spotting, stuff like that, and stuff like that. And you also, if you get a chance to look in the comic, look through it. Be careful if you haven't bought it yet. If it's at a comic shop, be very careful, or maybe ask the shop owner if he could go through it so you can see it, anything like that. And you know, you're looking for the same thing. You're looking for tears, spot, blemishes, you know, missing. A lot of people back in the day would take what they call the value stamps out of the older books, so there'd be advertorials, cutouts. So you're looking for all that kind of stuff, obvious stuff, as well as the condition of the pages. If they're white, off-whites, tanned or anything. This one's the off-white one, so you know, it's not too bad. But these are the things that you're looking out for on a defective book, or these are the defects that you are looking at, or what I look out for on books. The next one I'm going to show you is one that had a grease pencil on it, and this is Ghost Rider #1, first appearance or first ongoing series of Danny Ketch's Ghost Rider, and straight off the bat you can see just what I've been telling you about the previous comic of spine ticks. They're quite obvious. They're not heaps of them, but they are there. This comic is pretty good. If you put it in the light, she's pretty flat. She's got a little bit of wave on her, but she sits pretty flat. Now I'm going to put it up there and I want to see if you can see where the grease pencil was. Remember what I said about the last comic where newspaper stands and book outlets usually write their prices. So see if you can find it. Can't find it? Well, if you can't find it, I've done a bloody good job. It was right across here, right at the top of his head is where they wrote the price. And grease pencil, so lucky for me, was able to get it off, get the grease off, and she came out minter. We'll put her in light so she came out pretty minter. So yeah, so same thing. You're looking for spine breaks in that, on that one. This is mid-grade copy, you would say. Spine ticks and wear and tear on the corners, but besides that, she's in pretty good nick. Next one I'm going to show you is a high-grade comic. Now, this is what they would call a near mint copy of a book. Now this is Spawn 300. Everyone should know this comic because it came out not so long ago. This is what you call a near mint comic. Now this book has not been out of his bag and board since it was created, and it has stayed in there. It has got nothing of what that Wolverine or the Ghost Rider one had. So this is what you'd call, well, what the grading guys would call probably a 9.8 or anything like that. That's probably the highest rating that like CGC would go for and stuff like that. I've never seen a 10. So it'd be 9.8. So that would be like a near mint copy. But saying CGC, now grading comics is a fickle thing. It's easy, but it's hard at the same time, because my definition of grading to your definition of grading to their definition of grading is all different. It all comes down to your experience with collecting comics, and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, yours could be different to mine could be different than yours and theirs, and blah blah blah. But you've got companies out there like CGC, which, you know, grade comics for a living, and they're pretty much the benchmark on, if it is, they're pretty much the Bible, really. They are very, 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 very strict when it comes to grading comics. They, you know, if it's got a piece of fluff on it, they'll probably degrade it by something, you know. That's just how thorough they are, shall we use the word, shall we use. But you know, then that's pretty much grading in a nutshell, guys. That's pretty much what I look for when grading comics, and that's pretty much what I tell people when I'm on selling comics to them, or buying comics and stuff. So my tip, my number one tip or advice for new guys that are collecting comics is ask questions. You know, scrutinize the picture that you've been given, scrutinize the cover of the book, head to toe, left to right, up and down, backwards, sideways. Scrutinize it, guys, because in the end you are paying your hard-earned money for a book that you believe is of a certain level, and to be disappointed like that, trust me guys, I've been there a few times, and it is not fun. So yeah, so that's what I would say. Scrutinize, ask the questions, and you know, get the answers that you want before buying, you know. So yeah, but anyway guys, that was my tips on grading comics and how I go about it anyway. So If you like that video or like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to my channel yet. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you get notified when I drop content on my channel, which is usually every week. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you very much for coming along, and we'll see you on the next video, Whiz out.